Welcome to the Word for 2021. Today we're in 2 Samuel chapter 13. This chapter is a tragic and disgusting account of lust and of sin, of abuse and revenge, of family dysfunction. When you read a chapter like this, it's not uncommon to become angry and even ask the Lord the question, why did you put this in the Bible? Well, everything that is written is so that we might be instructed by it. We might learn from the past and the accounts of others. About 3 years after David's affair with Bathsheba, David's son Amnon, it says, fell in love. Actually, he fell in lust with his half-sister Tamar. Now, pure lust is the irrational desire to have sexual relations with someone else. And that's what Amnon had towards Tamar. His lust so consumed him that he was actually affected physically. Well, Amnon had a friend that gave him some wicked advice. This friend came up with a plot that would get Amnon alone with his sister Tamar, and then while they were alone, he could force himself upon her. Well, Amnon, he acted out this deceptive plot, and he raped his half-sister Tamar. Then we read in verse 15, Then Amnon hated her with an intense hatred. In fact, he hated her more than he loved her. Devotional writer Wendy Blight wrote this concerning this horrible episode. Amnon's uncontrollable lust shattered this beautiful young virgin's life into a million pieces. The author gives us a glimpse into Tamar's pain, and it's heartbreaking. Upon awakening that day, she chose to wear her richly ornated robe, a cloak of dignity and honor that symbolized she was the virgin daughter of the king. By evening, Tamar tore her robes, weeping and grieving over what she could never get back. Amnon had stolen her security, her dignity, her value, and her worth. With her face smeared with ashes, her beautiful robe torn, and tears rolling down her cheeks, Tamar took refuge with her brother Absalom. As we continue to read this chapter, her brother Absalom then tells her 3 things that are actually textbook symptoms of family dysfunction. He says to her to be quiet. Absalom, after all, is your brother. Now don't take this thing to heart. What he was really telling her was don't talk, don't trust, and don't feel. And all 3 are textbook symptoms of family dysfunction. They're not helpful and they are not healthy. Absalom told her to be quiet. In other words, don't talk. Don't talk about family issues. Don't put our family into a bad light in the light of others. Now here's the reality. When wrong is committed, we should not protect the victimizer, ever. We need to tell someone in authority what has happened. Don't be quiet. The second thing that Absalom tells her is that he is your brother. Now, in other words, you need to protect your family at all costs. What that really does is it sets the person up to say, I can't trust anyone. Don't trust anyone inside the family and don't trust anyone outside the family. Don't embarrass the family, he was basically telling her. You can't trust anyone. And then thirdly, he said, don't take this thing to heart. He was telling her, do not feel. Simply put it behind you. Let's not deal with it. Let's act as though it never happened. Don't make a big deal over what has taken place. All of that saying that I am minimizing exactly how you feel. All 3 of those, again, are wrong and they are unhealthy. And then, to add insult to injury, in verse 21 we read that when David hears about it, he becomes furious, but he doesn't do anything about it. He doesn't discipline his son. He doesn't take any punitive action against his son. He cowardly is silent. He doesn't take his responsibility as the father into account. Rather, he doesn't say anything, and that actually opens the door to further tragedy. 2 years later, Absalom, as he's been smoldering with hate in his heart towards his brother, he then sets up a plan of his own to kill Amnon in order to revenge his sister. The sons of David repeat the sins of the father. For just a moment, let me share some counsel with you. When we experience physical or emotional pain, when we're abused, betrayed, or victimized, God, He understands how we feel, and He will never diminish, He will never devalue or discount how you feel. And God wants you to talk. He wants you to tell Him not only how you feel, but your deepest thoughts and emotions. He wants you to be real and honest with Him. He wants you to be raw. He wants you to express to Him exactly what's happening in your heart. And God wants you to trust. He wants you to trust Him with your pain, with your emotions, and with your brokenness. Why? Because God can mend your broken heart. He can heal your soul and your mind, and He can bring beauty out of ashes. Thank you for joining the Word for 2021.